The night skies above Earth were clear and silent when it began. People in cities, towns, and remote villages looked up and saw strange lights moving together in patterns no human aircraft could match. They drifted across the stars like silver fish gliding through dark water. At first, many thought they were meteors or a new kind of satellite formation. But those who watched closely noticed the lights were not falling toward Earth. They were slowing down. On the following morning, observatories and space stations confirmed the impossible. A massive fleet of ships had entered the solar system. They were not human. The vessels were shaped like long spines with rotating rings that gave off a faint blue glow. Their size dwarfed the International Space Station, each ship hundreds of meters long. Astronomers estimated there were more than 100 of them. The world reacted in chaos. News channels filled every screen with blurry images of the alien fleet. Social media flooded with speculation. Some prayed for a peaceful meeting, while others feared the worst. Military forces across every major nation moved into high alert. Though no one knew what kind of threat these ships could bring, the United Nations called for calm, but tension grew by the hour. By the third day, the fleet stopped near the orbit of Saturn. Then a single ship, larger than all the others, moved forward alone. It was dark in color with sharp, angular shapes that made it look more like a weapon than a vessel for travel. The ship took position between Saturn and Jupiter, and for hours, nothing happened. At last, every communication network on Earth, every television, radio, and satellite feed suddenly switched to the same transmission. A tall figure appeared on the screen. Its skin was pale silver, and its eyes glowed faint blue. A deep, steady voice spoke in a language no human had heard before. But as the figure spoke, translation appeared in text at the bottom of the broadcast. In every human language, the message was short and cold. We are the Vreen Dominion. Your planet is now under our control. Submit your resources and leadership to us, or your species will be erased. You have 7 of your days to decide. The broadcast ended without explanation. No answers to where they came from. No details on why they wanted Earth. Only an ultimatum. Panic spread. Some leaders wanted to negotiate, but most saw the tone of the message for what it was: a demand from conquerors. Humanity was not prepared for an enemy that could cross the stars. Or so the Vreen believed. What they did not know was that Earth had been preparing for the possibility of an alien encounter for decades. Hidden deep below the surface of the moon, in caverns carved by old mining projects, lay facilities that did not appear on any public record. These were not research labs for exploration. They were defense stations built by a coalition of nations under a secret treaty. After decades of small, quiet cooperation, humanity had developed weapons far more advanced than anything shown to the public. In one such base, known as Lunar Base 7, Commander Alex stood in the control room, watching the replay of the alien broadcast. The screen flickered as the cold words repeated in dozens of languages. Around him, officers worked at their stations, monitoring fleet movements and intercepting communications between the alien ships. Alex was a man who spoke little but noticed everything. His hair was short and gray at the edges, his face lined. From years of quiet service, he had been part of Earth's space defense planning for 20 years, and he knew that the Vreen had not come for peace. Any sign they are scanning us? Alex asked. Yes, sir, replied Officer Mira, a sharp and focused woman in her early 30s. They are mapping our satellites and orbital patterns. They seem to think our stations are for observation only. They haven't found the deep relay network yet. Alex gave a small nod. Good, keep it that way. While the Vreen believed Earth's technology was primitive, the truth was far more complicated. Public spacecraft were slow and limited, but military prototypes hidden in classified programs were faster and equipped with weapons that could target from planetary distance. Earth's greatest strength was that the Vreen did not yet understand. This stopped far away, in the central command hub of the Vreen fleet. Supreme Overseer Calworth reviewed the data. His advisors stood around a floating display showing the solar system. Human settlements appeared small and harmless. The Overseer dismissed the threat with a wave of his hand. They are barely above the first stages of star travel, Cowrith said. They have no warp capability, no planetary shields, and their weapons are chemical or nuclear. We will take them without a fight. One of his subcommanders, a younger officer named Ralvik, spoke cautiously. Overseer, with respect, their planetary defenses are unknown. We have not faced this species before. Perhaps we should. Cowrith silenced him with a glare. They are children playing with fire. We will put it out. Back on Earth, world leaders gathered in a secure underground chamber beneath Geneva. The president of the Earth Unity Council, an older man named Daniel, addressed the group. His voice was steady, but his eyes carried the weight of history. We are being tested. Daniel said, if we give in now, Earth will never be free. Again, if we resist, we may lose everything, but we will lose it as a free people. The Vreen think we are weak. Let us prove them wrong. The chamber filled with agreement. The decision was made. Earth would not submit. Commander Alex returned to Lunar Base 7 with urgent orders. All hidden facilities on the Moon, Mars, and in deep orbit were to be activated. Project Iron Horizon, the plan to counter a planetary invasion, was given. The green light. Ship crews were recalled from covert assignments. Engineers began arming drones and activating rail cannon systems that had been silent for years. In the quiet shadows of space, human warships began to stir. They were not the sleek cruisers of science fiction. Many looked industrial, armored, like massive construction machines. But beneath their plating they carried weapons capable of piercing even advanced shields. Their designs had been inspired by decades of studying asteroid mining, using mass drivers and kinetic projectiles to deliver devastating strikes. The 7 days the Vreen had given were now a countdown to war. On the final day, as the alien fleet started to move toward the inner planets, Alex stood in the observation deck of the moon base, looking at the small blue sphere of Earth far below. Every continent glowed with city lights. Billions of people were waiting, some in fear, some in defiance. He thought about the Vreen's words, submit or be erased. He tightened his grip on the railing. They think they understand us, he said quietly to Mira. But they have no idea what humanity does when cornered. In the distance, the stars seemed calm, but Alex knew the calm would not last. The first contact had been made. And now the first battle was coming, deep below the gray surface of the moon. Lunar Base 7 came alive, the air filled with the hum of generators as long dormant. Systems powered up. Lights glowed along steel corridors, revealing rows of armored doors that had not been opened in decades. Behind each one rested machines built in secrecy, their designs the result of years of cooperation between nations that had once been rivals. Commander Alex stood in the control room. As the main display lit up with green indicators, each green mark represented a defense platform or weapons system that had successfully activated. More were coming online every hour. His officers worked quickly, sending encrypted orders to other hidden bases scattered across the solar system. Mars Base 12 was one of them, buried under the red dust of the planet. It appeared from orbit to be nothing more than a failed mining colony. In truth, it held one of Earth's most advanced weapon prototypes, a magnetic rail cannon that could fire solid projectiles at a fraction of the speed of light. Crews there were busy testing its systems, ready to defend the inner planets if the Vreen drew too close. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, human-built stealth platforms slowly emerged from the shadows of drifting rock. They had been disguised as mining stations for years, but their real purpose was to serve as ambush points. Each one carried hundreds of automated drone fighters, equipped with advanced targeting software. These drones could operate without a human pilot for hours, making them ideal for fast and unpredictable strikes. Alex studied the data feeds carefully. The Vreen were still near Saturn, scanning human space with what they assumed was no risk. Their main fleet had not moved into direct attack formation yet, but small vessels were beginning to drift closer to Jupiter. It was clear they were testing the waters before committing their full strength. Officer Mira stepped beside him. The enemy believes we have only the ships they can see. Our public fleet numbers are small, and they think those are our only defenses. That is exactly what we want them to think, Alex replied. If they underestimate us in the first battle, we will have the advantage on Earth. Preparations were also underway. Cities built underground shelters and moved critical infrastructure away from likely target zones. The general public still had no knowledge of the full military plan, but news outlets repeated official messages about unity and defense. While many feared the coming days, there was also a growing sense of determination among the people. Humanity had faced world wars, natural disasters, and countless hardships. This would be the greatest challenge yet, but history had taught them to adapt. In Geneva, President Daniel monitored the progress reports from the bases. His advisors discussed possible diplomatic messages to the Vreen. But Daniel knew words alone would not prevent conflict. The alien fleet had made their intentions clear. Only strength could answer such a threat. By the fourth day of the 7-day ultimatum, Earth Unity Command held a secure meeting with all base commanders. The image of each leader appeared on the conference screen. Alex reported from Lunar Base 7, Captain Harris from Mars Base 12, and Commander Tan from the asteroid belt platforms. Alex spoke first. Our readiness is at 70%. Most of our drone systems are active. Lunar weapons platforms will be fully operational within 24 hours. Harris followed. The rail cannon on Mars has passed all firing simulations. We have enough ammunition for 30 full strikes. Resupply would take time, but we expect the opening battle to be short and decisive, Tan added. The asteroid platforms are in position. The drones will be launched at the first sign of hostile movement toward the inner planets. Daniel listened carefully before giving his orders. We will not wait until they reach Earth's orbit. If they cross the line between Jupiter and Mars, we strike first. Our goal is not just survival, but to make them reconsider their invasion. Far away, in the Vreen command vessel, Overseer Calworth remained confident. His analysts reported no sign of human ships near Saturn that could pose a serious challenge. The Overseer decided to send a small strike group toward Jupiter to test the planet's defenses and study human response. He believed this would confirm their weakness before committing the full fleet. Ralvik, the cautious sub-commander, again, expressed his concern. If we test them too lightly, they may hide their strength. A small force could be destroyed without teaching us anything. Calworth's tone was sharp. We do not need to test them for strength. We test them for fear. They will run. On the 6th day, Alex received confirmation from the asteroid belt platforms. The Vreen strike group had entered human-controlled space. 12 ships in tight formation were heading directly toward Jupiter. It was time to reveal part of the hidden arsenal. Alex contacted Commander Tan. Deploy drones from positions Delta, Gamma, and Theta. Do not engage until they pass your flank. Tan acknowledged and began the launch sequence. From the shadows of the asteroids, swarms of small, triangular drones emerged. Their surfaces coated with material that absorbed most detection signals. They moved slowly at first, drifting among the rocks, then accelerated to intercept the alien ships. The Vreen formation continued forward without noticing. Their sensors were focused ahead, scanning for any large human vessels. By the time they detected the drones, the swarm was already inside effective range. Tan's voice came through Alex's earpiece, engaging now. In an instant, the drones switched from silent movement to full attack mode. Their engines flared, and they unleashed streams of kinetic slugs that tore into the outer hulls of the nearest Vreen ships. Several alien shields failed under the sudden and concentrated assault. Calworth's command ship received the emergency signal from the strike group. His calm expression faltered for the first time. What is this? How do they have autonomous strike craft of this number? Ralvik answered with a grim tone. It seems they are not as weak as you believed. Within minutes, Vreen ships were disabled. The rest broke formation and attempted to retreat, but the drones pursued them relentlessly, using coordinated attacks to overwhelm their defenses. Two more alien vessels fell before the survivors finally escaped beyond drone range. When the battle ended, the asteroid platforms recalled the swarm. For rearming, human forces had taken no losses. The message was clear: the Vreen had underestimated Earth. Back at Lunar Base 7, Alex watched the footage of the battle. His face remained calm, but Mira could see the satisfaction in his eyes. "This was only a small step," she said. "Yes," Alex replied. "But now they know we can fight back. And this is just the beginning." In the distance, the alien main fleet near Saturn began to shift. Dozens of massive ships adjusted their positions, preparing for a more serious engagement. The first test had failed, and now the Varine would come in force. The countdown to the true battle had begun. The silence of space near Jupiter was broken only by the faint movements of distant moons and the drifting of asteroid fragments. But for the crews aboard the human warships hidden behind those moons, the silence was only the calm before the storm. The Varine fleet had begun its advance. This time, it was no small scouting group. 20 heavy warships and dozens of smaller escorts were moving toward the inner planets from the observation deck of Lunar Base 7. Commander Alex watched the incoming data. A large holographic map showed the alien formation in red, slowly closing the distance toward Jupiter's orbit. Human forces were already in motion. Warships launched from secret hangars on Mars and the Moon, slipping into pre-planned positions. Drone swarms, freshly armed after the last engagement, took up silent flanking routes among asteroid shadows. Officer Mira read off the latest report. "Enemy speed is steady. They are not rushing. They expect us to be cautious. They expect." "Wrong," Alex said. "Signal Mars Base 12 to prepare rail cannon fire. Tell asteroid platforms to stand by for coordinated strike in the asteroid belt." Commander Tan's crews were ready. Hundreds of drone fighters floated in place, their dark surfaces blending into the cold background of space. Tan's voice was calm as he gave final instructions. "We will not hit them head-on. We cut them apart piece by piece. Once they start reacting, we change our angles." Meanwhile, at Mars Base 12, the rail cannon crews made final adjustments. The weapon was massive, stretching for nearly 2 kilometers underground. Above it, the Martian surface looked quiet and empty. Inside, magnetic rails hummed with growing energy, ready to launch solid projectiles faster than anything the Varine had seen from humanity. Far across the battle zone, the Varine ships kept their tight formation. In the lead vessel, Overseer, Coward studied the tactical display. "They will not resist us for long," he told his bridge crew. "Destroying their defenses near Jupiter will break their will." Ralvik, standing beside him, watched carefully. "Last time, we underestimated them. I suggest we be ready for an unseen attack." Coward gave a small, dismissive nod but did not change formation. The first human strike came suddenly. Without warning, a volley of rail cannon fire tore through the empty space and struck to Varine escorts. The kinetic impact shredded armor and sent the vessels spinning. Before they could recover, a second volley targeted the center of the formation, forcing the aliens to spread out. "This is not random fire," Ralvik said sharply. "They are aiming to separate us." Cowarth ordered his fleet to advance faster. But as they adjusted, the asteroid drones moved in from both sides. Small and agile, the drones darted between alien ships, firing rapid bursts of high-density slugs. While the drones could not match the raw firepower of the alien warships, they were too fast to hit easily. One by one, Varine shields began to fail under the repeated impacts. Human warships then emerged from behind Jupiter's moon Callisto. Their hulls reflected almost no light, making them hard to detect until they fired. Using advanced targeting systems, they launched stealth missiles designed to bypass shields by splitting into multiple decoy signals. The alien sensors struggled to tell which were real, allowing the real warheads to strike. 2 more Varine ships went down, their hulls breaking apart into burning fragments. The debris drifted silently into the darkness, a reminder that this was no one-sided battle. Inside his flagship, Cowarth gripped the railing. They are using coordinated strikes from multiple points. Break formation and destroy them piece by piece. But the human fleet had planned for this. As soon as the alien ships spread out, Alex gave the next order from Lunar Base 7. "Begin slingshot maneuver." The human ships near Jupiter used the planet's gravity to accelerate at high speed. circling around its shadow to reappear. Behind the alien fleet, the sudden shift in attack direction forced the Vreen to split their firepower even further. Drones harassed the rear vessels while rail cannon shots targeted the ones in front. Despite the chaos, the Vreen were still powerful. Their main cannons fired massive plasma bursts, striking one human warship and tearing it apart in a single hit. The loss was immediate and heavy. Alex felt the weight of it as the casualty report came in, but there was no time to dwell. Mira's voice was steady. Our losses are minimal compared to theirs. Drones are holding their lines. Keep them moving. Alex said, if they slow down, they die. The battle raged for hours. In the blackness of space, bright flashes lit up as ships exchanged fire. Human tactics relied on constant movement, unpredictable attack angles, and the use of terrain the asteroid belt, Jupiter's moons, and even its magnetosphere to interfere with alien sensors. The Vreen, used to overwhelming enemies with superior firepower, found themselves fighting a force that refused to stand still. At one point, a large alien cruiser attempted to escape the chaos and regroup. Commander Tan directed a swarm of drones to intercept. They attached small magnetic mines to the cruiser's hull, then detonated them in sequence, creating a chain reaction that tore through the vessel's engines. The ship exploded into a cloud of glowing fragments. Ralvik turned to Kaurth. They are not fighting like a young species. They are fighting like veterans. Kaurth's glare was sharp. Then we will treat them as such. All ships converge on their command signals. The aliens began targeting the strongest signals they could detect, believing them to be human command ships, but this had been planned. The command signals were decoys, large unmanned vessels, broadcasting false orders to confuse the enemy. When the Vreen destroyed them, they gained nothing. As the hours passed, the alien fleet's numbers dwindled. Finally, with less than half their original force still functional, the Vreen began to pull back. They retreated toward the outer solar system, leaving the battle zone littered with wreckage from both sides. In the control room of Lunar Base 7, cheers erupted as the retreat was confirmed. Alex did not smile, but his voice carried quiet pride. We held them here, but they will come back stronger. Mira nodded. We showed them that Earth can fight. That will make them angry. Alex looked at the holographic display of the solar system. The red icons of the alien fleet were moving away, but he knew they would not leave for long. This battle had been the first major clash, and humanity had survived. But it had also revealed that the Vreen were willing to commit greater force, if necessary. On Mars, rail cannon crews were loaded and repaired, ready for the next engagement. In the asteroid belt, drone platforms returned to stealth mode, waiting for orders. On Earth, the news of the victory spread fast, lifting spirits and uniting people across nations. For the first time, humanity believed they could win, but far beyond Saturn. The remaining Vreen ships rejoined their main fleet and his flagship. Overseer Kaurth stood in silence, watching the damage reports. His pride had been wounded, and his voice was cold when he spoke. They have defied the Dominion. We will gather the full might of our empire and crush them completely. The stage for the next battle was set. Humanity had drawn blood, but the storm was far from over. The aftermath of the battle near Jupiter left the solar system scattered with wreckage, glowing fragments drifting in silent arcs. While the Vreen pulled back to regroup, humanity used a brief pause to repair ships and recover surviving crew members. But Commander Alex knew the next move could not be purely defensive. If they waited for the Vreen to return with their full strength, Earth might not survive. Inside the control room of Lunar Base 7, the holographic display showed the alien fleet's new position. They had moved beyond Neptune, anchoring their main force near the orbit of Pluto. Hundreds of ships formed a massive formation, with their largest capital vessels at the center. This was not just a regrouping, it was a staging ground for an overwhelming strike. President Daniel's voice came through the secure channel. Commander, our intelligence teams have confirmed that the Vreen main fleet is consolidating near Pluto. Their numbers are far greater than we've faced before. If they enter the inner planets again, we may not be able to hold them. Alex listened without expression, then spoke firmly. Then we do not wait for them to move. We hit them first. There was a pause. Daniel understood the risk, but also knew Alex was right. You have my authorization. But this strike must hurt them enough to make a difference. Alex turned to Officer Mira. Prepare the teams for Operation Shadow Spear. Operation Shadow Spear was unlike any battle fought so far. It was not about meeting the enemy head-on. Instead, small stealth craft would infiltrate the outskirts of the Varine fleet and plant disruptor devices. Directly on their capital ships, these devices, when activated, would send a surge of energy through alien systems, disabling their engines and weapons for a short time. In battle, even a few minutes of confusion could decide the outcome. The operation required the best pilots and infiltration specialists humanity had. Volunteers came forward without hesitation. Many had already faced the Varine near Jupiter and knew the danger. The plan was simple in concept but complex in execution. Approach the enemy fleet undetected. Attach the devices and retreat before detection. In the asteroid belt, Commander Tan oversaw the loading of the stealth craft. They were small, sleek vessels with reflective plating that could blend with the blackness of space. Each carried a team of 3 and enough supplies for a 2-day mission. The crews checked their equipment with silent focus, knowing that discovery would mean certain death. On Mars, engineers prepared the disruptor devices. Each one was shaped like a flat disk, no larger than a human torso, but powerful enough to shut down even the largest Varine warship temporarily. The devices were tested in controlled environments, their electromagnetic pulses tuned to bypass alien shielding frequencies that human analysts had studied from the first battles. The infiltration 2 days later, under the cover of Jupiter's shadow, the stealth craft launched. Their engines emitted no visible light, and their trajectories followed paths that blended with natural asteroid drift. The crews spoke little during the journey. Every movement had to be calculated to avoid detection by the Varine's long-range sensors. From the cockpit of one stealth craft, Lieutenant Rian watched as the distant lights of the alien fleet grew larger. Even from this far away, the size of the capital ships was intimidating. Their hulls were covered with moving panels, shifting like scales, and their rotating rings emitted a faint blue glow. Dozens of smaller ships patrolled the perimeter, creating a net of constant surveillance. The human craft drifted closer, using the shadows of passing debris to mask their approach. At one point, a patrol ship passed so close that the vibration of its engines rattled the hull. The crew froze in silence until it moved away. One by one, the stealth teams reached their targets. The disruptor devices were deployed using magnetic clamps. Once attached, they blended with the alien hull. Indistinguishable from the surrounding structure, each device had a timed activation, allowing the teams to escape. Before the pulse was triggered, the strike back at Lunar Base 7, Alex monitored the infiltration through encrypted telemetry. Green markers on the holographic map represented the teams, slowly retreating after planting their charges. When the last signal turned green, Alex gave the order, "Activate Shadow Spear." Far beyond Pluto, the first disruptor triggered. Massive Varine capital ship went dark in an instant, its lights flickering out as engines failed. Then another followed, and another. In less than a minute, 7 of the largest vessels were dead in space, their systems overwhelmed by the electromagnetic surge. Confusion erupted in the alien formation. Patrol ships scrambled, unsure where the attack was coming from. The sudden silence from their command vessels broke the fleet's coordination. Smaller Varine ships began colliding. As they tried to adjust positions without orders, human warships, waiting at the edge of the battle zone, moved in. Mars Base 12 fired its rail cannon at maximum range, targeting the disabled capital ships. The kinetic slugs struck with devastating force, tearing through alien armor. In minutes, to Varine, flagships were destroyed entirely. The Aftermathrovek stood in shock aboard his patrol cruiser, watching the chaos. "This is no random strike. They planned this." Cowarth, on the bridge of another vessel, slammed his fist against the railing. "They have insulted the Dominion. For the last time, we will not retreat again." But retreat was already the only choice. with several command ships disabled and others under heavy fire. The Vreen fleet pulled back even farther, beyond the edge of the solar system. Their pride was wounded, and their losses were heavy. The survivors would need time to repair before launching another full-scale attack. Back in the lunar base control room, cheers erupted as the retreat was confirmed. Alex stood quietly, watching the holographic display clear of red markers. Mira stepped beside him. We bought ourselves time. Yes, Alex said. But this will not stop them. It will only make them more determined. President Daniel appeared on the secure channel. Your plan worked, Commander. The entire planet owes you and your teams. Alex did not smile. Tell them to use this time well. The next fight will be harder. The galaxy watched us strike against the Vreen did not go unnoticed beyond the solar system and distant star systems. Other species received fragments of the intercepted messages and battle recordings. Some had lived under Vreen rule for generations. Believing no power could challenge them, now they saw a small, young species standing its ground. Whispers spread among neutral worlds. Perhaps the Dominion was not invincible. Perhaps the humans were worth supporting. Small offers of aid began to arrive. Encrypted star maps, resource caches hidden on remote moons, and old but functional starships from sympathetic worlds. Humanity, once seen as an isolated and primitive people, was now recognized as a dangerous and unpredictable force. In the quiet of space, the solar system seemed at peace for the moment, but Alex knew this was the eye of the storm. The Vreen would return, and next time, they would bring everything they had. The galaxy watched as Earth's fleet began to assemble in the dark of space. For weeks, humans had been silent, their communication channels carrying no words of surrender or fear. Instead, quiet preparation took place behind closed doors, and ships once thought to be relics of old wars were refitted with new weapons. Even the smallest vessels were given updated armor and hidden countermeasures. Commander Ryan stood in the command hall of the orbital station known as Horizon's Gate. Around him, dozens of officers moved quickly, their screens filled with reports from every corner of Earth's defense network. Satellite clusters formed a shield around the home planet. While long-range scouts kept an eye on enemy movements, the fleet was no longer just for defense. This time, it was meant to strike back. The enemy, the Tharkal Dominion, believed humans lacked the ability to organize such a counterattack. Their fleets were massive, their weapons advanced, and their history of conquest stretched across centuries. When they had first attacked Earth, they expected a swift victory. What they received instead was a resistance so stubborn that their progress slowed to a crawl. Every city they tried to take was defended with a mix of ingenuity and relentless courage. Admiral Harris entered the hall, his expression firm. The last of the new rail cannons are mounted. Our carriers are fully stocked. The strike groups are ready. Ryan nodded. Then we moved to Phase 2. Phase 2 had been a carefully guarded secret, even for most of Earth's allies. While the Tharkal focused on direct assaults, humans had quietly studied their technology. Captured enemy drones were dismantled piece by piece, revealing weaknesses that the Tharkal believed impossible to exploit. The findings were integrated into a plan that aimed not just to defend Earth, but to cripple the enemy's entire war network, far from Earth. In the asteroid belt, a hidden facility housed one of humanity's boldest creations. It was called the Phantom Array, system of stealth satellites, capable of emitting powerful interference fields. Once activated, it could blind the sensors of an entire fleet. The Tharkal prided themselves on their perfect targeting systems. But soon, those systems would turn useless in battle. Back on the orbital station, news came in from the scouts. The Tharkal had begun to move more ships toward Earth, believing their next wave would finally break human defenses. Their command vessel, the Pride of Akaris, led the formation. It was a warship so large that it could carry an entire cities. Population inside. Harris studied the incoming data. They're confident. That's the perfect time to hit them. Ryan's voice was calm but carried weight. Then let's make this the moment the galaxy remembers. The plan unfolded with precision. The first human strike group moved to intercept the outer edge of the enemy fleet, but not to destroy it. Instead, They drew the Tharkle into a formation that made them more vulnerable to the Phantom Array, while the enemy pursued what they believed to be a retreating force. Hidden human ships slipped into position. In the heart of the array facility, engineers activated the system. Across the enemy fleet, displays began to flicker. Targeting systems showed false readings. Missile locks failed. The Tharkle crews shouted in confusion as their precision advantage vanished in an instant. At that moment, the second human strike group arrived from hyperspace. They emerged behind the Pride of Icaris, launching a barrage of rail cannon fire and EMP warheads. The massive warship shuddered as its shields overloaded. The Tharkle fought back with sheer numbers, but without their targeting systems, their firepower was clumsy. Human ships move with speed and precision, their smaller size becoming an advantage in close combat. Carriers released squadrons of drone fighters that darted through the chaos, hitting weak points identified during months of study. On the command deck of the Pride of Icaris, the Tharkle commander roared in anger. He had never imagined that humans, a species the Dominion once dismissed as primitive, could dismantle his fleet's technology so completely. Hours passed, and the battle turned in Earth's favor. By the time the Phantom Array was powered down, nearly half the Tharkle fleet was disabled or destroyed. The rest began to retreat, their formation breaking apart. Cheers erupted across Horizon's Gate, but Ryan remained focused. "They'll be back," he said quietly, "and next time, they'll come with something new. We need to be ready before they recover." Admiral Harris agreed. "Then we take the fight to them. The galaxy needs to see what happens when humanity stops holding back." The victory was not complete, but it was enough to send shockwaves across the stars. For the first time in the war, Earth was not just defending, it was advancing. Rumors began to spread through other star systems. Species under Tharkle control whispered that perhaps the humans were not to be underestimated. After all, Ryan knew that the next steps would be harder. Striking back meant leaving the safety of home territory and stepping into the vast unknown. But this was no longer just about Earth's survival. It was about proving to the galaxy that humanity's place was not at the mercy of stronger powers, but as an equal among them. The fleet began repairs and resupply, preparing for the next mission. Engineers worked on enhancing the Phantom Array, making it portable so it could be used deep inside enemy territory. Intelligence teams intercepted transmissions from retreating enemy ships, revealing panic among their commanders. In the quiet moments between planning, Ryan stood by the observation window, looking at Earth far below. The planet glowed in the distance, a reminder of why they fought. He thought of the millions of people depending on them, and the message they had just sent to the galaxy: humans would not kneel. As the ships powered up for their next journey, one thing became clear: the war had shifted, and the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. The cold vacuum of space stretched endlessly around the outer edges of the solar system. Jupiter's giant red storms swirled far behind the fleet, while icy fragments of distant comets drifted silently nearby. This was the place where the greatest battle humanity had ever faced was about to unfold. Commander Alex stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, watching the vast array of ships assembled before him. The Earth Unity Command fleet was the largest ever gathered. Over 300 warships, carriers, and stealth craft waited, their crews tense but determined. Every ship was equipped with the latest weapons, shields, and systems refined over many months of war. The enemy had come. The Vrine's Supreme Commander, a ruthless leader known as Morth, had gathered the greatest fleet of their empire for a final strike against Earth. Their ships were massive, far larger than any humans had encountered before. Their weapons were designed to devastate entire worlds for years. The Vrine had underestimated humanity. They believed Earth would break with a single strike, but humanity fought back with courage, intelligence, and unity. Now, as the Vrine fleet advanced through the asteroid belt, the greatest test was about to begin. "Commander," a voice called from the tactical console. Officer Mira stood ready with reports. "Enemy fleet has entered engagement range," she said. "They outnumber us nearly 2-to-1. Alex nodded slowly. "Numbers don't win battles alone. We have strategy, and we have heart." The battle began with a burst of light and soundless explosions. Vreen capital ships fired their plasma cannons, bright bolts arcing across space. Human warships moved swiftly, using Jupiter's gravity and the shadows of asteroids to hide their approach. They launched salvo after salvo of missiles and kinetic projectiles. The Resolute led the charge. Its hull was battered but held firm. The crew worked in perfect coordination, firing rail cannons and releasing swarms of drones that danced around enemy ships, striking weak points. Morth watched from his command vessel as his fleet's attacks battered the human line. He sent orders to concentrate fire on the Resolute, hoping to crush the command center early and disrupt coordination. But the human flagship was protected by multiple shield layers and countermeasures that confused enemy targeting systems, shields. Holding at 85%, reported Mira calmly. Drones neutralizing enemy missiles. Suddenly, a squadron of stealth fighters darted from behind an asteroid, targeting the Vreen supply vessels. Without supplies, the enemy fleet could not last. The stealth fighters used hit-and-run tactics, disappearing before the enemy could respond. Alex smiled. Cut their lifelines. Without supplies, they will fall. The battle raged for hours. Bright flashes marked hits on both sides. Some human ships were lost, but their sacrifices bought time for others to regroup and fight harder. Amidst the chaos, Alex received a message from Mars Base 12. Rail cannon batteries fully charged and ready. Fire when ready, Alex ordered. Massive projectiles launched from Mars, traveling at near light speed, striking Vreen dreadnoughts with devastating force. Several enemy ships exploded into fiery clouds of debris. Morth's voice boomed over the battlefield. Destroy their weapons platforms. Take the rail cannons first. The Vreen focused their fire on Mars, but human crews were prepared. Automated defense turrets and missile interceptors made the planet's surface a deadly zone. For enemy fighters, they won't get past us, said Captain Harris, commanding the Martian defenses. In space, the turning point came when Alex ordered the fleet to perform a risky maneuver called the Gravity Slingshot Ambush. Human ships used the gravity of Jupiter's moons to accelerate and flank the Vreen fleet unexpectedly. Enemy ships were caught off guard. The human fleet attacked from multiple angles, dividing the enemy's attention. It was a brutal and chaotic fight, with explosions lighting the darkness like fireworks. One human destroyer, the Valiant, took heavy damage but managed to breach the shield of a Vreen flagship. Its crew launched boarding pods, hoping to capture the enemy vessel. Inside the enemy flagship, chaos erupted. Human boarding teams fought through narrow corridors and armored doors. They planted explosives to disable the ship's main weapons. The flagship began to lose power. Its plasma cannons ceased firing. Morth's face hardened with anger and disbelief. His pride was slipping away. Back on the Resolute, Alex watched the battle with steady eyes. He knew this was more than just a fight for survival. It was a battle for humanity's place in the galaxy. The final hours were intense. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but human fighters moved with a determination that surprised even the most hardened Vreen veterans. At last, the Vreen fleet began to retreat. Many ships were damaged beyond repair. Morth ordered the withdrawal, his voice grim. As the enemy ships fled, the human fleet held its formation, ready to strike again if needed. Victory is ours, Mira said quietly. Alex allowed himself a brief smile. It is, but this war is far from over. After the battle, the solar system was quiet once again. The people of Earth celebrated their victory, but the leaders knew the Vreen would return. They would learn from their mistakes and come back stronger. Commander Alex stood on a balcony, overlooking Earth. The blue planet shone brilliantly against the blackness of space. We showed them what humanity can do, he said softly. Mira joined him. And now, the galaxy knows we will not be silent. The stars beyond Earth twinkled with unknown possibilities. For humanity, the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. They had earned their place among the stars. The war was over, but the galaxy was changed forever. The battle near Jupiter had marked a turning point for humanity. Earth had survived the greatest threat in its history and shown that it was not to be ignored or underestimated. Commander Alex stood before a vast crowd in the new Galactic Assembly Hall. This building, orbiting high above Earth, was a symbol of hope, a place where many species could come together to discuss peace and cooperation. Today, representatives from dozens of worlds gathered to witness humanity's first speech in this new council. Alex's voice was clear and strong as he addressed the assembly. We came from a small, blue planet, once forgotten in the vastness of space. We faced an enemy that thought us weak, that believed we would fall without a fight. But we did not fall. We stood united, with courage and with hope. The crowd listened in silence, many moved by the simple truth of his words. Today, we do not stand just for Earth. We stand for all who seek freedom from fear, who believe that no one should live under the shadow of oppression. We offer friendship, not war. We invite all species to join us in building a galaxy where strength is used to protect, not to conquer. Among the assembly, many faces showed surprise and respect. The stories of humanity's resilience had spread, inspiring others who had suffered under the rule of the Vreen and their allies. Back on Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. Cities rebuilt, families reunited, and children played beneath skies once threatened by warships. The people knew the peace was fragile, but the victory had given them confidence. Officer Mira walked through the streets of a bustling city, now filled with hope. She thought of the sacrifices made and the friends lost in the long fight. We did more than survive, she said quietly to a nearby child playing with a toy spaceship. We became a part of something bigger. In the years that followed, humanity worked to strengthen alliances with other species. Trade routes opened. Technology was shared, and new ideas flourished. The Galactic Assembly became a place not only for diplomacy, but for education and culture. Scientists from many worlds collaborated on projects once thought impossible. Together, they developed faster than light travel, new energy sources, and ways to heal old wounds. But even in peace, vigilance remained. The galaxy was vast, and threats could come from unexpected places. Humanity's experience had taught them the value of readiness and unity. One evening, on the observation deck of the Resolute, now a symbol of peace rather than war, Alex stood beside Mira. Do you ever think about what comes next? Mira asked. Alex looked out at the stars, calm and thoughtful. The galaxy is full of possibilities. Some we can see, some we cannot. But whatever comes, we will face it together. Mira smiled. I am glad to be by your side. Far away, in a distant star system, the remnants of the Vreen Empire were reorganizing. Their leaders had not forgotten their defeat, but many also saw the strength in unity. Some began to question the old ways of conquest and fear. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where old enemies could become allies and where hope could rise from the darkest battles. As Earth turned slowly beneath the stars, a soft light began to spread. It was the light of a new dawn, not just for one planet, but for all who dared to dream of peace and cooperation. Commander Alex's words echoed through the vastness of space. We are not alone. We are stronger together. And so, the story of humanity's rise was not just one of war, but one of hope, a beacon to the galaxy that even in the face of great danger, unity and courage could light the way forward.